Keliaujame su pranešimais toliau ir, man atrodo, mažai rasime tokių sveikos ir kokybiškos gyvensenos vadovų arba leidinių, tebūnie filmukų, dokumentinių filmų, pasakojimų, skaidrių, kuriuose vienas iš punktų nebūtų judėjimas ar sportas. Ir čia apie veiklą, po pamokų veiklą jau taip pat buvo užsiminta. Gerai, kai įprotis yra išugdomas dar jauname amžiuje, viskas prasideda nuo gero pavyzdžio, tai irgi yra įrodyta. Na ir dabar metas pranešimui kultūros kūrėjai bendruomenėje, sporto trenerių vaidmuo jaunimo sporte. Na ir čia noriu pakviesti Daði Rafnsson, Kopavogur College sporto šakų programos vadovą. Mr. Rafnsson, the stage is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you for inviting me to your beautiful country. And I have been spending the week with coaches from the community, from the Vilniaus community, talking about some of the things that I'm going to talk with you today. And that's how they can be cultural architects in the community, how they can shape the behavior and the norms and the values that young children and teenagers are, putting value in their own life. My background is deep in sports. I've been coaching kids from the age of 3 all the way to elite athletes, professional athletes. I've been studying sports psychology. I've been head of football, head of academy, and I'm also a father of 2 children who are now in sport and music. So I know the system of both how to coach kids, but also how to teach kids, and also how to be a parent myself. And and this is the standpoint where I'm talking today, both as a father, as a teacher, and as a coach. So when I meet the Vilnius coaches this week, the first question I ask them is, who was your best coach? And we can also ask this, who was your best teacher? And when you think about it, there's 1, 2, 3 persons that come to mind. And I ask them to write down the name, and I ask them to write down then, what is it that this person did that made them the best? And these are some of the answers from the coaches, the sport coaches in Vilnius. They said that, one said that the coach found me when I was a kid, and he helped me. A lot of coaches said that the coach that inspired them was a friend, was somebody who inspired them. Also that they pushed them, that they made demands on them, that they would learn something, that they would become something of themselves. And it's when you talk about teachers, coaches, caring is so important. Like caring about the people that you work with. It's more important than knowing the tactical and the technical areas of sport. It's also important, but it's even more important to be a coach who is seeing the kids and the youth as a whole person, not just as an athlete. So these were the answers from the Vilnius coaches. Was really interesting because they are the same if I were doing this in the United States, if I were doing this in Iceland, or if I'm doing it here. So I know Margaret has been talking to you earlier this morning, and my angle is a little bit different because I come from sports. And sports in Iceland have benefited immensely from all of the prevention methods that have been put in place in Iceland. And you wouldn't expect it, that 20, 30 years ago, when before the prevention methods started to work, Iceland was not doing really well in sports at the international level. But in the recent 15 years, Iceland has been competing in European finals, World Cups, in football, in basketball, in handball. We are not very good at basketball yet, but we are still in the Eurobasket. And but we are getting better, our kids are getting better, and it's because they have an opportunity. In the same time, we see many of our musicians, start to have a Grammy. I think 3 Icelandic kids who are now adults, have won a Grammy in the last 3 or 4 years. Oscars. It's because when they were kids, they were able to chase their dreams. They had the opportunity to do what they were passionate about. So this is really important, that we give kids opportunities to chase their dreams. Not everybody will win a Grammy, very few people will. Very few people will go to the World Cup. But sport can also help you, and leisure time can also help you, teach you life skills and values that can help you in anything else you do in life. So we have a different sports system from many other countries, and I think I'm not going to go too deep into it. Like I think Margaret has done this already, but I liken this to sort of a church, because as Ilona was talking about right now, kids are getting digitalized, they're getting isolated. So it's very important for us to see the sports clubs like the third space, in a way like a church, where people come together, different people from the community, because the first space is our home, the second space is our school or work, but the third space is where we meet people from the community, like you are doing here today, other people who are different, people who have different backgrounds, people who share your community, but you would never meet otherwise. And this is important for us, that all of the sports clubs in Iceland are volunteer-based. They are not owned by companies, or they're not owned by hedge funds or investors. They are owned by the community itself. And so it's parents and people from the local community who are board directors, they are CEOs, they are even coaches, and they help with the travel, they help with the food, they help with everything. So parents are a very important part of the sports clubs. And when I see this as a parent, I take my kid who is 3 years old to the sports club to do exercise, to have fun, but they're also becoming part of society. They put on the green shirt, and in this club they put on the red shirt, and they become part of their community through sports. And it's important to note that the deal that we have in Iceland is that if the community is investing taxpayer money into facilities and also into vouchers, everybody must play. Everybody has an opportunity to play. So everybody can play for my club. I once coached a team of 10-year-old boys that had 130 players. It sounds scary, but it actually works, and it turns out great. And we even have a lot more players who have become really successful from maybe teams that only had 16. So these are very important things to understand also about talent development. And this is what I want to talk about with talent development. The modern approach to talent development. We used to think that talent development was about the individual. We would look at individuals and see how they thrived, how did they train, how did they eat, sleep, grow up. But one individual can come from everywhere. But if there are many people coming from small places, and then there's something in the water, or should we say, there are something in the culture and in the community that are helping the kids to grow up and chase their dreams. This is my son's basketball coach. My son is 4 years old. He loves coming to basketball because this is one of the best coaches in the world. If you want your 4-year-old to love basketball, she's the best. She's also a former player. She's a sociology PhD student. So, but every Thursday and Tuesday, she comes out to her club and she coaches the small kids. And it's the environment that we have to look at when we're looking at talent development. Where do we have kids who can actually achieve something? Individuals who succeed normally do so because they come from the best environment. And we look at Simon, who is a swimmer for the Icelandic swimming national team. He grew up 10 minutes from the best swimming hole in Iceland. We have Erika, who is the first Icelandic person to win an international boxing tournament. She grew up 10 minutes from the boxing ring. In my town, most of the basketball kids, they come from my area of town. But most of the gymnastic kids come from the other part of town because that's where the gymnastics hall is. So what is in the environment that is helping people achieve and you know. So you can also apply this to education. If you have a good school, it's likely that your kids will be good at school. So we should make sure that most of the schools are good. And then we look at the athlete life cycle, how athletes, you know, start in sports and how they develop through sports. And I want to start with the initial stage, the initiation stage, where kids start in sport. This can be, depending on the country, the context, the age of 3 to 8 years old. And if you're a coach, like the basketball coach, what I want as a parent, I want her to light a fire in my son, that he loves coming to basketball, that he loves dribbling a basketball, that he will go and shoot a basketball on his own. This is all I ask for. I don't need a lot of X's and O's. And I want her to smile when he's coming to practice and say, hey, welcome, I've been waiting for you. And this is what she does, and a lot of our best youth coaches, because they are age-appropriate coaches. And they get paid just like the older coaches who are coaching the older kids. Because this is also important. We place value on the coaches being paid, that their work is valued. So when you are the person who greets a young child into the sporting environment, you become a cultural architect. And you start to shape the norms and the values and the behaviors and the rituals that the kid grows up in. And, you know, then you have boys from my school, from my young son's kindergarten. One started going to basketball. Next week it was 2. 1 month later, there were 10 boys. And, you know, things grow. I'm not going to go through this because I'm going to jump into the development stage, which is the teenage years normally. And depending on the sport, this can be the age of 9 to maybe 18. Now we have different things that we want the coaches to work on as cultural architects in sports. We need them to have a big duty of care. We need to have them thinking about as many as possible. If we're only focusing on a few athletes, it will be very difficult for us to have good athletes. If we are focusing on a few piano players, we will have very few good piano players. So in talent development today, we're talking about as many as possible, as long as possible, in the best environment possible. So this is why the environment that you're in matters a lot. And the environment is not always about facilities. It's more about the people. And this is something we're talking about with the coaches. It's you, the teachers, you, the parents, the coaches. How do you think about kids? How do you think about youth development? Do you have passion to help them, to have duty of care, to support them? Because being a teenager is tough. There's social media. There's, you know, in Iceland, there's the alcohol companies are marketing every day through the internet to these kids. So it's tough for them. And also they're learning who they are. They are growing up and they're trying to see their own place in the world. So normally what happens in the teenage years is that teenagers drop out of sport. In some countries it starts to happen at the age of 14, 16, and then 18. And you want to keep them in sport as long as possible. So in Iceland, we try to keep them until the age of 19. It's difficult because you have school and you have other things that are clashing. And this is why you need to have people who are trying to help and support and have flexibility. And you need coaches who are guiding lights. You know, they're not making all the decisions. They're not motivating and saying, I have all the answers. It's coaches who are trying to help, and teachers who are trying to help the kids learn the answers and come up with the answers. and understand the world. You know, if I'm gonna be a good football player, I have to understand the game. I have to learn the game. I have to watch the game. And also if I have to, it was really funny last week, now that I think of it, that my daughter, who was 8 years old, she told me, "Dad, I don't want to be playing computer games anymore. I think I need to play less computer games." I'm like, why do you say this? I just don't think it's good for me. And, you know, it was something that we hadn't told her at all, but she had learned it somewhere in the community that computer games are maybe not so good for her. So we need teachers and people in the community who are preaching the right values and guiding, you know, setting the clear expectations, because kids, youngsters, they need to know from us what is the norms and expectations that life will throw at you. And to stress on this point, you know, we need to keep them as long as possible. Try to minimize the exodus from sport that happens when they are teenagers. Then a new stage happens for some athletes. It's the mastery stage, and this is where some of them become top athletes. And this is a different stage where they need a different kind of coach. And this is a coach who drives performance. This is a coach who helps them to achieve. And this can be the age of 15 to 30, 35. But it's very important, especially with young people, that if you are achieving, that you need somebody who's helping them to achieve performance, sustain performance over a long time. And to do this, we need to teach kids resilience, you know, to work at their goals and keep on going and not be affected by setbacks. And also we need to think about athlete well-being, and that the school and the sport is not clashing all the time. If I have an athlete who is going to the European Championships in handball, and they're taking the exams at the same time, what do? We have to postpone the exams. But if we have an exam and there's just normal training going on, maybe you should postpone one training. So it's about finding this balance in what you do. Coaches in the mastery stage, and when you're helping young people go from being young and promising to becoming high-performing athletes or high-performing people, they need guidance and they need opportunity. Everybody needs an opportunity to display their talents. So for people who are working with older adolescents, they need to not think of themselves as the most important part, but think about the athlete. And if there's a better opportunity for my basketball player in Iceland to come and play in Lithuania, I should say, hey, go. I'll buy you a flight ticket and, you know, go to Lithuania. It's better for you. And this is why many of the coaches and athletes we talk to, they will say, my coach helped me. He was thinking about me. He was my friend. In many cases, the ladder will fall down. They will have injuries. They will have mental illness. Athletes are just normal people. And in this case, they need support. They need people who are ready to catch them. So you can see there's different stages in the athlete life cycle where coaches are very important, you know, both in building the culture where our kids grow up in, but also to keep them in the sport and to give them opportunities. And there's no coincidence that when Iceland started to emphasize young kids in sports and the prevention measures, there's no coincidence that all of a sudden we had a lot of people who could do well in sport. In gymnastics, in golf, in basketball, in football, a lot of different sports. And we are a small nation, only 400,000 people. But in 2016, there was only 4 countries in Europe who had a team in all the European finals. It was France, Spain, Germany, and Iceland. And it keeps on going. So I think there is a lesson just to, you know, that these things go together. it's very important for me to leave you with this thought. There was nobody who said, this is how we're going to do it. There was nobody in an office who said, we are going to do this system. It was people like you who were working with kids who came up and said, we need to change things. So it's very important for you, if you are in a position to change things for kids, that you do. And you try to affect things. And you don't think that you're too small to change things. And it's also very important that, you don't wait for somebody on the top to, come. Go to the person who can make change. We studied how Icelandic women's football had grown from being a sport that nobody cared about to the players being big stars and known in the community and having thousands of fans to all of their games. And we asked the women who had been in the period when they were changing, how did you do it? What happened? How did Iceland women's football go from being something nobody cared about to where everybody knows all the players and they get a lot of fans? So the women told us, just do it. If you're in a position of power, if you can change, don't wait for somebody else. Just change what you can. Small things, big things, just do it. And it also goes for the coach who is working with them every day, the teacher who is working with them every day. Just go ahead and do it. In sports, there's a tendency sometimes to look at athletic development from a mechanist point of view. Thinking about it like we are engineers and we're putting pieces together, and in the end we will have a machine like Cristiano Ronaldo who just runs and scores goals. There's a different approach that most people are taking nowadays. It's to look at athletes like trees or flowers. And how they grow depends a lot on the nutrition in the area where they grow up and how the gardener tends to the plants. So I encourage you to think about, the kids in this way, that as if they were plants, that if we help them grow, if we put them in good soil, something might happen. They could have opportunities to grow a lot higher than we expect them to do otherwise. Thank you.